talking about Governor Glenn Youngkin out of the state of Virginia and how he is still a potential candidate for president in 2024 in the Republican primary. Now, this is a guy who shocked the nation when he won the gubernatorial election in Virginia in 2021 with um, his Democratic opponent not being very popular, him being a very strong candidate among parents, him turning out voters in the suburbs. Glenn Youngkin was able to flip the Virginia governor seat from blue to red, and he was someone when immediately after he won, he was touted as a a winning Republican, as a candidate who could win, and a lot of people immediately when he won, were eyeing him at, for 2024. And it's not like he's doing a bad job either. I mean, this is a guy whose approval ratings continue to be higher than Biden's, despite Virginia voting for Biden by 10%, when Youngkin only won by 2%. So he's definitely a winner. That's for sure. He is a good candidate. And a lot of Republicans, especially those who are, currently supporting DeSantis or Tim Scott or Nikki Haley, but who are very unhappy with how no other Trump challengers are even coming close to Trump in any of the polls, those are the people that are really eyeing a Youngkin 2024 bid. And although he is not a candidate, he is not someone who is declining a run. He continues he continues to decline running in 2024. He keeps saying, so Virginia does have, state elections this year in 2023, House of Delegates, State Senate, State House, whatever. And Glenn Youngkin continues to say that he is only focused on these Virginia elections and that he's not worried about the filing deadlines in early primary states. Now, if this was a guy that was seriously uninterested in running for president, he would not be saying this, because this only adds fuel to the fire, to the speculation that he might run for president. If he was not interested at all, trust me, he would have declined. A long time ago. A year or two ago, because people have been wanting this run for a long time, and it appears that Glenn Youngkin did not initially plan on running for president, but once he sees the downfall of Ron DeSantis, I think that now he's eyeing it a bit more, because I think he knows that he's the only Republican that could, really challenge Trump in this primary. And that is becoming what a lot of people are thinking. But yeah, as I was saying before, I just want to mention, he did release this video a long time ago on Twitter. This very campaign style. It's very like presidential announcement-esque video, but there wasn't really a purpose for it. And people thought it looked very presidential, but he was just promoting himself. Promoting himself for what? A presidential bid, who knows? But again, for Glenn Youngkin, I don't think he initially planned on running for president. But, as he is very similar, I feel, to Ron DeSantis in many ways, as someone who wants to stand up for parents, as basically more of a traditional Republican, very conservative, and not a Trump Republican. So I think he, in the beginning, was looking at Ron DeSantis, thinking that Ron DeSantis was going to be this big Trump challenger, give Trump a run for his money, maybe win the nomination, and that Youngkin thought that if he would run, then he would split that vote tremendously, and that neither he or DeSantis or anyone else or Nikki Haley or Tim Scott could win, because he would furthermore split that more traditional Republican vote. So it makes sense that Glenn Youngkin didn't announce when everyone else did. Um, However, after looking at this race, and when you see, DeSantis at his peak at what 31, yeah, 31.3, and then that was in when? That was in early 2023. And then, he just continues to decline and decline. And even when he announces his candidacy, he continues to decline, 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 decline. So I think now that we have seen that Ron DeSantis is a failed candidate and that he has no, and he's not going to get anywhere in this race, I think that now, um, uh, Glenn Youngkin is thinking that this is his time because there are so many Republicans in this race who, were supporting DeSantis at the beginning, but once he continued to just fall and fall and fall, have just, discluded themselves from this race, or they have dropped their support of DeSantis because of how weak of a campaign he is running. And I think that if late in the race we see, Trump at almost 60 now, in December, whenever it is, November maybe, if we see Trump at 60, and DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy consistently polling ahead of DeSantis, and it just being a blowout race at this point, like only a few candidates are left, then I think that Glenn Youngkin will see this as his opportunity to jump in this race, act as a savior for this party, say that we can save this party, not directly say away from Donald Trump, but, you know, um, mean that, even if you don't explicitly say it, and that most of, if not all of DeSantis' support will go to Glenn Youngkin, most of Tim Scott's support will go to him, most of Mike Pence's support will go to him, most of Nikki Haley's support will go to him, and that we'll see this buildup of support for Glenn Youngkin, especially looking in Iowa, where we have seen one of the most significant Trump expansions in his lead, because we initially saw him at 7, then 18, 15, 23, 27, 24, and now we are seeing that he's up 37, 35, and up a net of 30.2 overall. We've seen Ron DeSantis, of course, fall. It was 37-30 in the beginning. Now it's 46-15. But if, I assume we won't see Tim Scott get anywhere really in Iowa. He's at 9. I assume we won't see Nikki Haley really get anywhere crazy in Iowa. I think that she'll stay at, or I think that both of them will fall by the time of the caucus. But if we, don't see them rise, at least when Glenn Youngkin gets in this race, he is a perfect candidate for Iowa. And trust me, he will get the donors who are so unhappy with Ron DeSantis and other candidates, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Mike Pence, will be switching their, their money, their cash flow to Glenn Youngkin. And once he has that money and he can run a strong campaign in Iowa, there is no looking back. Vast majority of DeSantis support would go to him, because vast majority of Tim Scott support would go to him. Vast majority of Nikki Haley support would go to him, because these voters, they see Ron DeSantis falling dramatically, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley not getting anywhere in Iowa, and they're saying, why would we stay with these candidates? Let's support the rising star in the Republican Party, who has a great track record. We know who he can win, and he has the momentum in the primary right now. Obviously, that's Glenn Youngkin. So, come caucus time, Youngkin would place second in Iowa. Absolutely. He would do well in New Hampshire, too, with all the parents. I mean, he is just the perfect candidate in this primary, and the only one that could possibly defeat Trump. So, I would have to say, especially after talking about this and hearing myself, I do think that Glenn Youngkin will run for president, especially if Trump continues to rise. Haley, Pence, Scott, DeSantis continue to fall, I think that by December, Youngkin is in the race. I think that after these Virginia elections, Youngkin is in the race. The only thing stopping him is the filing deadlines for early primary states, but I think you can still file in December if I'm correct. But anyway, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you took something away from it. Thanks for 1,000 subscribers, by the way. But again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.